Hello lovely booktubers, welcome back to my channel, Raina Read Stuff. I am here in the book shack. It's a lovely day. I have this week been tagged by a range of wonderful booktubers in I think 4 if not 5 different tags, and as I already hadn't caught up with my tags, I thought I'd better do some. So I've gone for the Jane Austen tag. Would Jane Austen be your friend? This tag was created by Shelly Swearingen, and I was tagged by my good friend Pat at Book Chat with Pat. Now, these are all questions about how you are or are not similar to Jane Austen. So, here we go. Question number 1. Jane Austen was an artist and a writer. Give yourself a point if you're an artist. Well, I sort of think I am. Yeah, I like to paint. I like to make things. I like to collage. I like mixed media. So yeah, I'm giving myself a point for that. Give yourself an extra point if you're a writer. Well, yes, I like to think I'm that as well. I was a journalist for 40 years. I've now started writing, tentatively writing some fiction, and I am very proud that one of my stories is to be included in Trash Tales, which is the book that comes out the day after tomorrow. That has been organised by Criminali and edited by Alex at Alex Unabridged, and is to go along with this year's Gala August. So I'm giving myself a point for that. Jane Austen was born to a large family. She had 1 sister and 6 brothers. Give yourself a point if you have 3 or more siblings. I have 3. I am the eldest. Then I have my brother Neil, then my sister Stephanie, and then my brother Brian. So I get a point for that one as well. Jane Austen did not enjoy her formal education. Give yourself a point if you did not care for school. Okay, I was okay with school to start with. I fell out with school quite quickly. And during my senior school years, so maybe not the first year, but certainly the last 4, I hated it. I hated it with a passion. Wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do. I do like to go off on tangents. Tangents aren't acceptable in a national curriculum. I was a bolshy, stroppy teenager. I had authority problems. So yeah, I think I deserve a point for that one. Dark humour is woven throughout Jane Austen's writing. Give yourself a point if you have a grim sense of humour. You must share a dark joke to get this point. Okay, I think I do have quite a grim sense of humour, but I'm really bad at telling jokes. So here we go. We're going to go with this one. 2 guys are on the golf course. They're midway through their round of golf when, along the road nearby, they see a funeral cortege going by. And one of the guys takes off his golfing cap, stands still, bows his head. And after the funeral cortege has gone past, the other guy says to him, "That was the most respectful thing I've ever seen." And the first guy says, "Well, we were married for 30 years. See, not very good at jokes. But I did think that was funny. Bit of a cracker joke, really. Right. Oh, I get another point. 5 points from 4 questions. I'm doing all right. Question number 5. Jane Austen broke off 2 engagements and died unmarried. Give yourself a point if you are single. I'm not single. I'm very happily married. In fact, this is my 2nd marriage, so I'm being a bit greedy. Phil and I have been married for 6 years. That's Colin. Do you know, the other day, this is me going off on a tangent. The other day, I was having a catch up with Pat from Book Chat with Pat, and all of a sudden, there's the sound of Colin on the roof, and he's stomping along. And I said to Pat, "Can you hear him? Can you hear Colin on the roof?" And she said yes, and she started laughing. And 2 seconds later, my husband shoved his head through the door, and he had a wooden spoon, and it wasn't Colin at all. It was him banging on the roof with a wooden spoon because he knew I was having a chat with Pat. Right, back to the prompts. Jane Austen experienced low periods. Give yourself a point if you have struggled with your mental health. Not seriously, but yes, I have, and it was in the last few years before I took voluntary redundancy from work. I'd got to the seniority where there were still people above me, but I was in charge of a team of loads and loads, 60 to 100 people. And I felt responsible for them. And we were constantly making redundancies. And I was constantly having to decide who was going to be made redundant out of people that I had worked with for many years and who had become great friends. And I found it seriously traumatic. I didn't want to make them redundant. I knew making them redundant was the wrong idea for the content of the newspaper, but I didn't have a say. And it got to me after a while. What also got to me was ad reps unable to divide by 4. But that's a completely different story. I did end up having to take a bit of time off work, not long, but and was prescribed antidepressants. Yeah, just having to carry out decisions, ridiculous decisions that other people who had no knowledge of anything at all had made. Yeah, it's a bit trying. Question number 7. Oh, no, that's another point. Hold on. I didn't get a point for number 5 because I'm not single. Right, I get a point for number 6. Jane Austen moved away from her childhood home in her 20s. Give yourself a point if you have moved away from your childhood home or region. This is a bit difficult. This is a bit difficult because we moved around a lot when I was a kid. So we lived in the home counties in the UK. We lived in Portsmouth on the south coast. We lived in Australia. I suppose if we take region rather than anything else, there's a small area where 3 counties join: Berkshire, Hampshire and Surrey. And I suppose for the longer period of time, I lived there. Whether or not we were in different houses, I lived in that region of the home counties. So, yes, I now live in Nottingham, and that's about 150 miles away from my childhood home. I have also lived in France. So I'm taking a point for that one. Question number 8. Jane was not vain. Give yourself a point if you have very little interest in vanity. Well, look at me. I don't wear makeup. I haven't worn makeup since I actually got an infection in, it's like a sty on the bottom eyelid. But it took, I think, 3 hefty doses of antibiotics before it cleared up. It was obviously to do with the makeup I was slapping on my face. This was probably 25 years ago. I rarely wear makeup. I probably never wear makeup. And my clothes about 4 years ago, I suppose. I was reading something about the fashion industry and the waste and the child labour and things like that. And I thought, right. And the amount of clothes that go into landfill. And so I took a vow not to buy any new clothes apart from underwear and shoes. Everything else I get from charity shops. There's been an exception. I did buy one of the banned book sweatshirts that MJ was selling to raise money for charity. I did buy one of those, but 99% of my clothing is secondhand, or so old that it's probably going to fall off me at some point. Oh, that's not the point. This was meant to be a quick one, but I'm dragging on, aren't I? I keep chatting. Right, 9. Hair was of very little concern to Jane Austen. Give yourself a point if you can't be bothered with your hair. I wash my hair. I brush my hair. Actually, I comb it. Once in a blue moon, when I look in the mirror and see my mum staring back at me, I will dye my hair. I do not go to hairdressers. I can't bear going to hairdressers. So if my hair changes length, it's because I have taken a pair of scissors to it. Luckily, as you can see, my hair is crazy enough to, doesn't make an awful lot of difference. So no, I get a point for that. Finally, question 10. Austen expressed her distaste for hot weather. Give yourself a point if you dislike the heat. Anyone who has been to this channel before over the last couple of months will have heard me whinging and moaning about how hot it's been. I hate the heat. I don't like direct sunshine. Perhaps I'm a vampire. I like to be outside. I like to sit outside. I like the fresh air. I don't like it too hot. I come from England. It's meant to be temperate. Temperate is my favourite temperature, but I would rather it be too cold than too hot. If it's too cold, I can do something about it. There seriously is a limit to the amount of clothing I can remove in public, and therefore I don't like it when it's hot. I get sticky. I feel like the great unwashed. I don't like it at all. So I get another point for that. That gives me a grand total of 10 points. The only one I dropped was the sorry Jane, I'm not single. So apparently the spirit of Jane Austen is with me, which I'm pleased about, because having read her books many times over many years, I've always thought we'd get on quite well. Thank you for watching. I'm going to do some more tag videos this week because I'm very behind. Thanks for popping by. It's always lovely to see you, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye for now.